Yeah.
Oh, gotta get their fast shot.
Yeah.
Gotta get their fast shot.
Hello Britball Nation and welcome to the Division 1 Power Rankings following our second weekend of Uni War fixtures. You, the people of the Britball Nation, seem to be going out of your way lately to make deciding these power rankings really hard, but we've finally settled on the top 10 of Division 1 programmes that we're pretty happy with, so feel free to go tell us how terrible a job we've made of it in the comments down below. We released our Division 2 rankings yesterday, so go check them out if you haven't already, otherwise, let's jump into it. Before the good stuff, let's talk about those who didn't make the cut this week. The 1A North is a confusing conference and the Newcastle Raiders are probably one of the better teams who will likely feature in these power rankings in the future, but there's no way you get to keep a spot in the power rankings after having a 50 burger dropped on you. Honourable mentions go out to Leeds Carnegie and Kent Falcons. Carnegie bounced right back from their shutout loss to Hallam by blunting the Sabres. A surprise passing game and a defence that took 4 picks away from the Sabres put Carnegie back into the running for the Northwest, and with a number of veterans yet to return from injury, expect the Leeds Beckett team to feature fully on these rankings before too long. Meanwhile, the Falcons travel to the Pythons on Sunday and will start to get a more clear picture of the shape of the 1A Southeast.
10.
The Redhawks just barely cling on to a spot in the rankings following what they'll feel was a disappointing performance against Cardiff. 2 out of the Redhawks' 3 touchdowns were produced by the defence, including a pick 6 from Holt Kalfan and a fumble return interception from Daniel Tops, who essentially found the quarterback's handoff land in his lap and trundled in for the score. This therefore asks questions as to the consistency of the Redhawks O, who seemed so dominant against Dewey, but also of the D, who while putting up 2 scores of their own, at the same time conceded far too many. Next up, Solent face the Lancers, but not until week 4, so they'll need results to go their way in the meantime to cling on to their rankings berth.
9.
It's our rankings, our rules, as we bundle another twofer together. We weren't sure what to expect from either the Pythons or Pirates coming into this season, but they both kick off their seasons with healthy margin wins over the Royal Bears. In fact, we currently have 4 of the 5 Southeast programmes hovering around either on or at the periphery of our power rankings, as it looks like this is going to be a closely contested conference this year. Luckily, we'll get some clarity this weekend as the Pythons take on the Falcons and the Falcons travel to the Immortals. The Falcons and the Immortals took each other to overtime in week 1, so they should prove a good marker to judge the conference by.
8.
Stingers lose, but by such a narrow margin that they're spared a complete tumble out of the rankings. Kunle Desumo put in some hard running from the Stingers' backfield and held the lead through the majority of the match, but they couldn't break through the Destroyers' defence in a way they've been used to do into other teams, and were forced to settle for only a single touchdown and 2 field goals. As it turns out, that wasn't enough. Look for the Stingers to bounce back ahead of the Christmas break, with 2 matchups they'll be expected to win against the Brighton Tsunami and the Reading Knights.
7.
Glasgow slide despite moving to 2-0, courtesy of one of their conference rivals swimming up the rankings and messing with our perspective of who's where in the 1A North. They outpaced the Mustangs in what appears to have been a shootout in the North, and we've heard some rumblings of controversy coming out of this fixture, but nothing substantive. It's good to see the Glasgow offence come to life, but also concerning that they conceded more than twice as many points in this one fixture than in their entire 15-16 season. Their remaining pre-Christmas fixtures against Newcastle and Hull should tell us a lot about the lay of the land in the North.
6.
These 2 stay tied at the hip until we see a little more from them, which won't be until week 4. They slide a little in the rankings courtesy of other programmes on the rise.
5.
The Destroyers couldn't have hoped for a better start to their return to Division 1 balling. Entering a realigned conference that in fact included not 1 but 2 conference champions from 15-16, the Destroyers had dispatched both of them in as many weeks. A strong D was key to the Destroyers' promotion and seems to be the decisive factor this season as well. Portsmouth were first on the scoreboard but couldn't keep up the momentum through the middle of the game. However, their defence kept them alive as they held a normally prolific Surrey Stingers offence to a single touchdown and 2 field goals. Time running down and feature back FA Collins Iguavoan, who plays his senior ball with the Solent Thrashers, drove the Destroyers down to the 1-yard line before smashing in for the game-tying trip to the end zone. Needing the PAT to take the lead, the Destroyers threaded the uprights. Approaching the 2-minute warning and the Stingers began moving downfield, before club president Jason Salami shut down the Stingers' hopes of a comeback by picking off a 4th and wishful thinking, allowing the Destroyers to close out the game. It's week 4 before we see the Destroyers again, but having killed 2 conference champs so far this season, surely it's a downhill ride from here into the Christmas break.
4.
Warwick slide despite their win, but only because they've been outpaced by other winning teams. They looked comfortable in their win over the Stallions, so if we're honest we would have preferred a bigger margin of victory and maybe a shutout to continue growing the hype ahead of the Wolves taking on the Nottingham Students. The Wolves are rewarding their game day MVPs with specially labelled beers, which is something that we wholeheartedly support here at DC and believe more programmes should do the same.
Health warning: the imbibing of alcohol is not conducive to athletic performance, and therefore Double Coverage would like to offer assistance to all recipients of beer-based MVP awards by providing a means of relieving the temptation to partake. All recipients can simply send the 0 for our rewards to us direct at DC Towers, where we will take absolutely zero pleasure in drinking them on your behalf. DC here to help.
3.
Cobras play yo-yo as they return to the number 3 spot we had them in during the preseason. 2-0 and gaining steam, it says a lot about a team when their defense only concedes a single score and their offense can manage to hand over 2 scores to their opponents but still put up 32 points. It was definitely a tad confusing watching the Cobras play in black instead of their traditional red jerseys, but it clearly worked for them on the day. Rookie quarterback Max Milburn, an alumni of the Leeds Academy Assassins, is clearly growing in confidence, though his offensive line will need to take better care of him moving forward as they allowed at least 5 sacks against a swarming Solent defense. A strong core of running backs including Liam Sharma and Carwin Chamberlain is allowing the Cobras to mix things up in their backfield, and despite the number of guys stepping up into starting roles, the Cobras D is starting to come together. They enter a bye before welcoming the UE Bullets to Clan Romney in week 4.
2.
You know we're a big fan of 50 burgers here at TC, and while it's probably a good indicator of the increased level of competitiveness brought about by the 3 tiers, we were still a little heartbroken that the first weekend of Uniball didn't give us even a single opportunity to bust out the burger graphic. Well, Hull to the rescue in week 2 as the Sharks took a bite out of the Newcastle Raiders and in doing so rocket up the rankings. The Hull team had a hell of a Sunday, clicking in every phase of the game. Veteran quarterback Sam Folds found the end zone 4 times in just the first quarter alone, and Hull took the ball away from Newcastle on 7 occasions. The Sharks have the Spartans come to visit this weekend, and it'll be interesting to see if they can similarly break down a D that held the Tigers to only a single score in week 1.
1.
Knots made short work of LJMU Fury, and indeed the most common sentiment we've heard coming out of their camp following the fixture was how disappointed they were to have already cracked their duck egg on defence this season. Nottingham have a bye and then a visit from the Worcester Royals that looks likely to be another one-sided affair, but circle week 5 on your calendars as that's when UNAF take a trip to Warwick and we'll see our first indication of who the heirs to the 1A Midlands crown are likely to be. So what do you think, nation? Think we've wussed out by including 12 teams in our top 10? Let us know in the comments down below. Remember to like and subscribe, and if you want your game day highlights included in these videos, you just need to get in touch over Facebook. And in the meantime, play hard, play safe, and go check out our week 2 scoop where we cover all of the matchups from week 2 of Uniball in a mere 10 minutes.